Wong. Holy crap.
Hey guys, our video this week is on the Nexus and its related realms from the Heroes of the Storm game. We'll be going over what is known about the Nexus itself, as well as the 4 worlds or realms within the Nexus that are unique to Heroes of the Storm: Mist Harbor, Soria, King's Crest, and Ravencourt.
To begin with, the Nexus is described as a, quote, cosmic storm where worlds collide from across time, space, and even dimension. Very, very little is known or revealed about the Nexus in all of its storminess outside of this description. One of the few things we do know is that the Nexus itself, or maybe something or things that control it, if such entities exist, pulls great heroes from across the various realities into itself in order to pit them against each other in battle. The Nexus also seems to be capable of pulling worlds into itself and keeping hold of them, as evidenced by descriptions for Ravencourt indicating it was pulled into the Nexus in the distant past, as well as Soria, which was intentionally pulled into the Nexus by its own residents. But in all seriousness, this is really all of the hard information we have on the Nexus, so it's time to move on to the original realms of the Heroes of the Storm. As a quick note, we are going over the 4 original Nexus realms because while the worlds of Diablo, StarCraft, and Overwatch do have battlegrounds and thus make appearances in the game, all indications are that no changes have been made to those worlds. So as far as we know, their lore, stories, and whatnot are unchanged.
Alright, so the first new realm we're going to discuss is Mist Harbor, a land of sea, pirates, and all things Pirates of the Caribbean. Mist Harbor was formerly ruled by a group calling itself the Council of Three Anchors, an organization with some degree of both honor and power, as they are known to have established a code of conduct amongst their pirate brethren, albeit a code that some consider merely to be guidelines. See, we told you there were Caribbean influences about. Anyway, all indications are that if the Council of Three Anchors still exists, their time of ruling influence has long passed. Their fall began decades ago when an admiral on the Three Anchors Council suffered a mutiny aboard his ship and was forced to walk the plank, drowning in the depths of the sea only to rise sometime between then and now as the briny, haunted creature now known as Admiral Krakenov. The fall of the Council of the Three Anchors would then later be hammered home by the undead pirate Captain Blackheart, perhaps, based upon their shared undead nature, the leader of the mutiny that led to Admiral Krakenov's death? Who conquered and seized the realm of Mist Harbor for his own, claiming a once thriving marketplace as their, quote, den of villainy.
You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
And lording over the realm of Mist Harbor using said marketplace as a base of operations. That market has since come to be known as the battleground Blackheart's Bay. All may not be lost to the denizens of Mist Harbor, however, as a sailor calling herself Pirate Queen Cassia has amassed a fleet of faithful followers, and plans to earn her moniker as Queen by wresting control of Mist Harbor from Blackheart. Whether or not she would make a more generous ruler for the realm is something that only time will tell.
Next up, we have the world of Soria, a desert-covered realm home to the Sky Temple and Tomb of the Spider Queen battlegrounds. Soria is an ancient and desert-filled land, and in times of old, its dunes were ruled by the Desert Queen Zagara, queen and master of the Scorpid Swarm. It is inferred that she ruled for some time, largely unchallenged. However, we also know at some point a pharaoh, known as Ta-Sadar, took control of Soria. What is not entirely clear is whether Ta-Sadar took Soria from the Desert Queen Zagara, or whether he gained control of Soria later, and defended his realm from her attacks when she returned from some sort of rest or exile. What we do know is that when the two rulers clashed, all appearances are that Ta-Sadar's forces were losing, as he went full Yu-Gi-Oh! And enacted some manner of magic or rite that summoned the powers of something called the Dark World to consume Soria. The indication seems to be that either this Dark World is the Nexus itself, or that the Nexus hijacked the summoning and ate Soria instead of letting it fall into the Dark World. For the record, we lean towards the former as being the more likely, the reason being that Ta-Sadar, his forces being beaten back by Zagara, is said to have known that the summoning of the Dark World would not slay Zagara, but that even so he would rather his kingdom be devoured by the Nexus than her Scorpid Swarm. Soria now languishes in the Nexus, pulled there, presumably in its entirety, by Ta-Sadar's magic, complete with the gods to which the land and its temples were tied.
The last two realms, King's Crest and Ravencourt, unlike the previous realms, are interrelated, but we're going to begin by going over King's Crest. A classical fairy tale world, the kind full of knights, squires, lords, and ladies, King's Crest is home to the Dragonshire and Garden of Terror battlegrounds. It is a wealthy land, ruled by one Queen Nightshade, who is described as being a young and innocent queen, the type to rule justly and fairly over a wealthy, seemingly idyllic kingdom. However, when night falls, Queen Nightshade succumbs to infection by plant spores, transforming into the monstrous Spore Queen. Well, in this guise, the Spore Queen takes on a decidedly poison ivy-like attitude, losing all care for her subjects and living only to see the infestation of her plants spread far and wide. So I guess she takes on some Zerg-like qualities as well. This transformation and infestation are most easily recognizable on the Garden of Terror map, where the change from fanciful garden to raging plant-infested death trap happens on a nightly basis.
Nearby, the Dragonshire battleground plays host to an interesting piece of history. Once a land of molten rock and dragons called the Dragonspire, over long years the Dragonshire has taken on a more lush green appearance. What's more, the transformation of the land mirrors the transformation of the creature for which this map is most famous, the Dragon Knight. Apparently, some time ago there lived a knight, so fearsome, brave, and mighty, that he earned the moniker Dragon Knight, in honor of his strength of both heart and arm. Unfortunately for him, he somehow crossed Queen Nightshade, who cursed him, transforming him into a monstrous being befitting the title Dragon Knight. The Dragon Knight had 2 children prior to his transformation, who managed to seal him away, preventing him from bringing harm to himself, their family, or anyone else. Ever since, the Dragon Knight's children have stood guard, ready to fight Queen Nightshade, whatever her form, always keeping the memory of their father in mind. It should be noted that it is not entirely clear whether the curse came from Queen Nightshade or her more evil half, the Spore Queen. Though, oddly, it can be inferred that the Queen, in her innocent human form, was the one to level the curse upon the Dragon Knight, as the picture from which the story of the curse comes only refers to her as Queen Nightshade, not the Spore Queen, and also shows her in a decidedly human form. So, one has to wonder, are Queen Nightshade and the Spore Queen less separate than we've been led to believe? Was the Dragon Knight already doing terrible things? Or is there perhaps a third answer for why this curse was cast?
Lastly, we move to the realm of Ravencourt. The first point of interest to note about this realm is that it has been cited as being one of the oldest realms in the Nexus, having been absorbed by the storm thousands of years ago. It's also specifically stated that Ravencourt has grown and flourished over time, and that the realm of Ravencourt is located just outside of King's Crest. Whether that means that King's Crest grew out of Ravencourt, vice versa, that the two were absorbed separately but somehow smooshed together, or that the two were one land that was later divided is currently unknown. This geographical connection seems to be the end of the relationship between Ravencourt and King's Crest, however, as if King's Crest is a land from fairy tales, Ravencourt is something more out of dark fantasy novels. The de facto ruler and lord of Ravencourt is the Raven Lord, from whom Ravencourt probably draws its name, and who can be heard cackling as he bemusedly curses either team of players on the Curse Hollow map. Though there is a lot happening as far as the mere mortals go in Ravencourt, the Raven Lord's biggest concern seems to be dealing with the Gravekeeper, a powerful necromancer who has stolen control of the Haunted Mines, a battleground on the edge of Ravencourt, and against whom the Raven Lord battles for control over the Towers of Doom battleground. As a little side Easter egg, / possibly important piece of information for theory crafters, when players are dead on the Towers of Doom map, a spirit healer from the World of Warcraft can be seen on the map, which is cool.
While the battles of seemingly godlike entities are fascinating, in truth the greater story of Ravencourt lies with the more mortal denizens of its soil. We say more mortal because, dropping away from the realm lords, the story of Ravencourt is one of vampires, mortals, and the always ever so peaceful coexistence those two peoples tend to share. The story, as we know it, began with the Countess Sarah von Kerrigan. Yes, Sarah von Kerrigan, who grossly had an obsessive thirst for blood in life. Whether this means that she was down with drinking blood when it does nothing but taste gross, was all over that whole mass murder scene, or some combination of the two, we don't know. What we do know is that once she died, she rose again. Only now, Countess Kerrigan benefited from the added bonus of being a vampire. Yay. As we know that the vampires of Ravencourt are sworn to the service of the Raven Lord, it can be inferred that he is responsible for Kerrigan's rise as Queen of the Vampire Swarm. And, since there are no references to Stalkers of the Night prior to her death, it is also possible that Kerrigan was the first vampire of Ravencourt. Unfortunately for all of the rest of us blood-pumping living types, as you may have guessed, a countess, known for bloodthirst in life, didn't make the most benign vampire queen in death, and her undead swarm swept across the land, leaving terror, death, and the walking dead in its wake. In response to this, two things happened. First, survivors of this terrible purge of mortal life banded together, forming a resistance group of vampire hunters, intent on combating and hopefully defeating Countess Kerrigan. Second, an unlikely ally emerged to aid the vampire hunters in the form of the vampire slayer V, a delightful reference to vampire hunter D. Miss V has forsworn any fealty to the Raven Lord, launching an apparently solitary crusade against Kerrigan's vampire swarm. Why the two don't work together is beyond us, but hey, the enemy of my enemy, as they say.
And that's basically the Nexus. Truly a chaotic storm of lands, peoples, powers, and all-out shenanigans. Viewers who have done their homework will note that there are denizens in the Nexus from worlds besides those listed here, but these are the only worlds themselves that have been drawn into the Nexus, so far as we know, and as such they were our focus today. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave us a like, and let us know what else you'd like to see us do videos on in the future using the comments down below. If you'd like to see more videos from us, be they lore or Let's Play, please hit subscribe.
In the meantime, this has been
Two
Two
Men
Men
and
and
a
a
Mic,
Mic, signing off. Hey guys, you can click the link in the left for our last lore video,
You can click the link on the right for our last Let's Play.
and right here in the middle, that orb, you can hit that to subscribe.
Also, ring the bell if you want to be notified when we post a new video.
This is Two Men and a Mic. Thanks for watching.